Our next contest of the Better Photography Weekly Challenge is portraits. Our judge and mentor is Mr. Nrupen Madhvani. He's an award-winning photographer based in Mumbai, whose career spans over a few decades. His portfolio includes interior, portraits, lifestyle, and product photography. He believes that less is more, and that mantra is reflected in the simple rhythm of his conceptual work. Though photography is his first love, Nrupen sometimes feels the need to express his thoughts through the medium of motion pictures. And with that in mind, he has directed a documentary film and a few short films. Along with his abiding interest in photography, he also cherishes his continued role as an educator and a mentor. Hello and welcome, sir.
Hi, Nilofer. Thank you for that introduction, and good to be back on the panel of judges slash mentors for better photography. Yeah, I mean today the subject is portraits, portraiture, and I'll uh, I'll start with a slide which is titled "Sometimes I Feel Like Shooting Myself." Uh, it's yeah, it's like another mantra because a shoot is full of let's say you plan, you do your pre-production, you prepare, and then you got to leave it open to the universe, right? Because uh, everything's not in your control. I think control is good as far as a shoot is concerned because you've done your planning, etc. So, but then there are times when you feel frustrated and you feel like shooting yourself. So, okay, anyway, now to move on, talking about control. When I say control, I actually mean taking ownership of the shoot that you're in. Okay, so that's the first thing. That's the first and foremost thing. I never walk into a shoot thinking it's somebody else's. I take on a shoot and it is mine. Okay. Why? Because that's, if I have that investment in it, then things just go better. I'll move on to the next slide. So even in something as simple as this, which is a candid shot, totally, these kids are family. They're my friends' kids, and they didn't even know I was in the room, right? Because Nrupen uncle always has a camera, and it's kind of accepted. Okay, this guy is around somewhere, but then they ignore me after a while, which is a good thing. So it doesn't matter what genre you're doing. I'm personally, I'm a multi-genre kind of guy because I just find that the juices get flowing, and the visual stimulation that I need comes from doing different things. So it could be complex, it could be simple like this, but you do get lucky. This is when the universe steps in, right? This is not something. It's not. I didn't plan it. I walked. They were there. I walked into the living room, and I saw this, and I kind of didn't start shooting immediately. I just sort of waited, hung around, and then they ignored me, and that's when I got my shot. So planning is good. but sometimes you just got to go with the flow. In the case of this guy, he's an actor. I think he made his name in that movie called Rosa, kind of 20 years
Roja.
back, Roja.
Yeah.
And I got the opportunity to talk to him many years later, when Roja, was a dim memory to some people. But the music of that film just sort of, I can listen to it even now and love it. So I got his number through somebody, and I called him and I said, "Hey, listen, can we?" I didn't know him; he didn't know me. It's see the thing about being who I am is that I'm low key. I'm sort of below the radar most of the times, in terms of, you know the guys who do fashion. They are like sort of on the radar most of the time. And the guys who are the influencers on Instagram and Facebook. I mean, those are the guys on the radar. I'm not on social media, right? So when I called him, I didn't expect him to know me, and he didn't. And I introduced myself and I said, this is what I want to do. Can you spend a day with me at my studio? My studio was in Prabhadevi at that time in Mumbai. And he came across, and I hadn't planned. Okay, I mean, each shot wasn't planned. I had a rough idea of what I wanted to do with him, what kind of images I wanted, but he's an actor, and I think when you come across somebody this talented, people who are comfortable in front of the camera, is that number one, you don't need to direct them too much. But having said that, I think it's also very important that they feel comfortable with you. Uh, and for the first 10-15 minutes, maybe half an hour, we just chat. I give him a coffee or a chai or something, make him feel comfortable. And then I go through the shots that I've kind of roughly prepared. And, uh, you know, uh, me and my two assistants at that time, we had kind of, we were really excited about this shoot. Okay. I was shooting it on medium format, black and white film only. I mean, that again is kind of a risky proposition, because I'm putting all my eggs in one basket. But he was on a roll that day. I mean, he just felt the energy in the studio, and I can't be more grateful for the kind of uh, response I got from him. Uh, going on to the next portrait. This is one of my assistants. His name is Amit, and one of my ex-assistants. And Amit is now, of course, he's he's a guy who shoots trees. I mean, he just shoots trees. So my eccentricity is kind of rub off on my assistants also. But he's just like incredible. I mean, he's focused on this one subject, which is kind of a junoon with him. And yeah, so I was on location. I was at a shoot for a travel feature for a magazine. I was traveling around the Konkan coast, Maharashtra, Malvani coast, that stretch of um, our state. And we came across this tree during the shoot, and I just said, Amit, become the tree. Okay. So So he actually dug himself deep into the tree. And you know, yeah, so I mean, you know, everything's not always serious, you know, you gotta have fun too. In the case of Rehan, Rehan is a stage actor, a theater personality. I'd seen his work on stage, and one of my other assistants, Siddharth, at that time, knew Rehan personally, and you know, I said I want to do some portraits of. Uh, you know, I mean, I want to do it for myself. Even these, so far, whatever I'm showing you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, are all shot for myself. Okay, this is not commercial work. So Rehan came across, and he didn't know what to expect. I mean, we didn't really brief him or anything. Came with an open mind, and then, you know, I have this tub of water. It's like a tray acrylic which I've made, which is waterproof. It's about 2.5 to 3 feet by 3 feet, so it's a big heavy thing. And I poured some water into it. I asked him to lie down below the tray. I made some space. It was like kind of a shelter. The roof was the tray with the water. He lay down on the floor, and then I colored the water, and I kept splashing it around and taking pictures. You know, I mean, I didn't know what the result was going to be till, of course, I got the results the next day. This was shot on, if you're familiar with it, E6, which is a transparency film. I shot it on medium format again. Which is kind of a lumbering camera to use. I mean, I have a speed grip, and you know, it makes it easier, but it's not like an SLR, you know, where it's easier to handle. This one requires some kind of, so I can't just stand on a stool and, you know, point the camera down. I have to set up the tripod and then fix the camera, and the tripod is at a height of about 5 feet above the ground. So I'm like about 6 feet, and it's all kind of precarious. And I think Rehan was happy that he wasn't the only one who was kind of in danger of losing his life. Yeah, then this was for a commercial shoot for a magazine, and they came to me, and they didn't have any sort of planned shot. They just said, we want a cover shot. And I don't know, these guys who come to me, they have a lot of faith in my ability, which I love, but at the same time, it puts a lot of stress on you because you have to perform and deliver the goods, right? So, you know, I asked them for what's the subject. They explained to me this, that, and, you know, I said, okay, we'll need a chessboard and we'll need reflective glasses because this is what I'm thinking of doing. So they brought the stuff, came to the studio, minimum props, simple props, and you know, I just concentrated on the intensity of chess players, kind of, you know, that's his game face, basically, okay? Then again, the next one is a personal shot, one of my favorites, actually, because I was in the Musée d'Orsay in Paris, a much ignored museum by most people because everybody goes to Paris and they go to the Louvre. And the Musée d'Orsay is like kind of tucked away, and it's a well-known museum. It's a super museum, 3 floors, 4 floors, with a lovely restaurant at the top, uh, which is built behind this huge clock, so the light comes through, and the clock is in silhouette, and that's where the cafe is. And I like Musée d'Orsay. I mean, I've been to Paris a couple of times, and I like it not only because of the architecture, but I love it because of it's the impressionists, right? And it's only the impressionists. So they kind of they're niche in that sense. So and you're allowed to photograph, so that's a great thing, you know. I mean, that's the icing on the cake. And you know, I was walking around with my camera, and as usual, and you you know, in an art gallery, you know, it's usually you want to avoid the cliches, right? So whether it's portraiture, whether it is still life or product photography or interiors or whatever it is that you're shooting, fashion, the idea is to try and avoid cliches. And also, if you're lucky, then sometimes, you know, things fall into place and you get that raw emotion. And I didn't even know what I was going to get. I mean, I walked into this section, and I just saw this guy on the wheelchair, and I said, it was from the corner. It happens, it's not a 180-degree view, okay, that you have. Or forget 360, it's not even 180. It's like a 20-degree view. It's from the corner, you know, of your eye. You sense something that's, so it's intuitive. And I just brought the camera. I mean, of course, you use a wide angle lens. I mean, you know, you're more or less kind of prepared for, you know, happy accidents. And this guy was, he had somebody with him who was out of the frame, fortunately. And he was looking at this artist. That's a portrait of an artist who's disabled. Okay, he's like one of the artists who did the posters for the Moulin Rouge in Paris. I mean, he's a famous artist, but he had an issue with his legs. So there's this guy and there's that guy, and they're both looking directly at each other. And you know, it's only when I took the shot, and I rapid fired about like 5 or 6 shots, and I just got my 5th or 6th shot, and the guy who was you know, with the gentleman in the wheelchair rolled him away. So you know, it happened like, you know, a Polaroid, you know. And I realized that there was contact here of some kind. There was a communication which was difficult. There was an empathy between the two of them, and you know, it was very alive to me. And that's one of the reasons I mean, this will always be at the top of my list of my favorite photographs which I've shot. We come to a section which I did for a book on artists. Again, commercial, but you know, also very personal. I can't separate the two. I can't separate the commercial from the personal, because I don't work like that. I know photographers who do, and that's okay. I mean, that's the way they function, but I can't separate the two. So whether I'm doing a commercial shoot or a personal shoot, for me, it's a personal shoot. Everything is a personal shoot. And that's what I call ownership, and that's what I call investment. So this is Atul Dodia, one of India's premier artists, and the book was on Indian artists. And of course, this Atul lives in Ghatkopar, in a chawl. Okay, that's where he grew up. That's where his roots are there in that chawl. This is what I love about Bombay. You know, I mean, we come from so many varied backgrounds, and you know, we sort of grow with, you know, that stuff we've we are born into, and sometimes we acquire stuff. But Atul had changed this house that they used to live in. Obviously, everybody had moved out by then, and Atul had these two spaces. Atul and his wife Anju, Dodia, who's also a very good painter, very famous painter. And I went and it was, I didn't do a recce or anything. There's no time usually because there's no budget. I just went over there. I met Atul, introduced myself. Of course, he was expecting me, and we sort of connected. And this is the portrait I shot of him. The funny thing I remember about this shoot was I went into the Louvre once to relieve myself, and his bathroom was covered with God's pictures. I mean, the whole pantheon. I mean, there were tiles. His bathroom tiles. It was from floor to almost ceiling. It was just these beautiful tiles of gods. And I found that so quirky. I said, wow, I mean, why not? I mean, I totally got it. And, I said, this is fantastic, because there's so much thinking that at least with me, I don't know about everybody else, but I do think in the bathroom, I mean, sometimes, the magic happens, so to speak. But yeah, so I did a few shots. I've sort of isolated this one. There was another shot which was a little more controversial in terms of course, I asked him, can I use the bathroom shot? He said, listen, can we, sort of not use it, because, people don't really understand, they may find it sort of offensive to their sentiments. So out of a consideration to their sentiments, don't, let's not go there. And I said, fine. And then I shot another picture of him, which I showed him. And I really like that one. And I said, hey, Atul, come on, can I use this one? It was a portrait of his. Of course, his bathroom shot wasn't going to be a shot of him in the bathroom. It was just going to be the bathroom, because the book was about artists, and it could have fitted in with the story about Atul. But the other shot I did, I kind of deliberately rigged it so that he has an eye, which is he squint. So I put his left eye behind. He's got a grill, which if you stand outside his studio and look into his studio, one of the windows has a grill, a vertical grill, and I positioned him so that his left eye was behind one of the bars. And then I showed it to him, and I said, I don't normally, okay, so, coming back to my way of operating, I normally don't show the stuff that I've clicked to, my subjects immediately. I try to resist that, unless, of course, I mean, if Atul had said, hey, I want to see the pictures, right now, I would have shown it to him, okay? But as a rule, I would tell him, Atul, I'd prefer it if I could just have, sort of some time with the image, and then, I'll send it to you later on. I'll email it to you or whatever. So I emailed that one to him later, the one with the bar, and he said, Nrupen, let's not use this, because the eye thing didn't bother him. I mean, that was the reason I shot it, but the eye thing didn't bother him. What bothered him was that it looked like he was behind bars. And that's the feeling he got. While my thought when I was shooting was that he's not behind bars. He's just, that's his comfort zone, and he does like to look out sometimes, and dream, So anyway, that one wasn't used either. And out of respect for his wishes, I don't use it anywhere either. This is Krishnamachari Bose, also impresario and artist in his studio. So these are all the pictures that I'm showing you are all in the artist studios, and their studios are, you know, each one has, you know, a kind of unique identity, you know, which the artist brings to that space, which is, so this is, again, no lighting. There is really no time for me to rig up lights. In the case of Atul's shot, I had placed a light in that den of his. There was a window light coming in, and I had like sort of bounced a light from the ceiling in his den, in his office, and just to fill in, you know. It doesn't take much time to set up. In the case of Krishnamachari Bose, no added light source at all. This was the light. I was fortunate at that time of the day. You can't dictate, you know, in situations like this. You're traveling all the way. I think it was at Goregaon or Borivali or someplace like that, where a lot of them have their studios in Bombay, and you know, you don't have the budget to recce or anything, so you just cold call. It's a cold call visit, and yes, sometimes, you know, you strike it lucky, and you know, the light is just right, and you just happen to see it, and you know, I literally had to sort of you know, tell him to rush to that spot, and you know, so that I could get the light the way I wanted it. That said, I also wanted to say that not every subject of yours may connect with you. Krishnamachari Bose, for example, was pretty remote. I mean, that's the way I would describe it. I couldn't bring him out of his shell, and then, you know, you just you don't want to push it, right? You just go on with the job. But yeah, I'm glad I got that shot. It's a shot that I personally like a lot. Um, this guy is like he's like a hippie, you know. He's a total hippie. I mean, I can see him on the beach in Goa with his hair loose, and you know, smoking a weed, and you know, just generally chilling. And I thought I'd kind of use that part of him, his personality in the shot. Happy guy. Sudarshan Shetty, again, a very intense, quiet guy. Very nice guy. I mean, he's got a good energy, but he doesn't talk much. So you know, he's like sort of, he's with you, and you know, he'll do stuff. You know, so you know, sitting on the floor is something which Sudarshan Shetty does. You know, so it wasn't like I said, "Hey, listen, those are the chairs," and in the painting, and you know, there's this chair, and you could use the chair, but you're not going to use the chair. You're going to sit on the floor. I didn't have to do all that, right? I just said, "Hey, Sudarshan, you know, what do you?" And he just sat down and he said, "Yeah, I mean, I do this," you know. So it was good. Let's go on to Baiju Parthan. Baiju Parthan, what an amazing guy. His studio was on the third floor of. It was a flat, I don't know, two bedroom apartment, which he used as a studio at that time, and again somewhere in the suburbs. And you know, the minute I walked into the door, I mean, it was like I just, you know, we connected. And I spent about maybe 2 to 3 hours with Baiju as opposed to everybody else, which was a much shorter time. You can't really, even though you want to spend more time, sometimes you can't because they have other work to do also. But Baiju is the person who I made a film on. The documentary film that I made was on Baiju Parthan. It was roughly, I think, I don't know, 15, 18 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that. I made it in this is about 10 to 12 years back. And he was, I mean, I, I, I spent, I think, overall for the documentary, I spent about two days shooting him in the same space, or maybe it was a different space. It was a different. It was his new studio. Yeah, this was his old one. So it was great because he was on board, and I got some nice footage. Again, Ashutosh, a very busy guy, big Bollywood director. He's got his own sensibility. He's the director of a film called Lagan. I don't know if you've seen it, with Amir Khan, and it was one of those super hit. Uh, some films, just sort of they're made and then it just sort of catches everybody's attention. So yeah, this was for a magazine. Um, yeah, whirlwind, as in walked in, looked at where he was. This is where he was. This apartment where he was, and found it quite. I expected something a little more elaborate, a little more glamorous, but it was a simple, clean place. And when I shot it, I think when the magazine used it, they edited the exit sign, because he's still, I think, one of the more brilliant directors we have. But the exit sign kind of again, raises a question mark. I mean, is he exiting? Why is he standing at the door? What's the story? And I said, does it really matter? Because at the end of the day, we all exit, right? I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? So what's the big deal if there is a sign that says exit? Doesn't mean he's exiting his role as a director. He's just moving out of the door, that particular door, and maybe into another door, But finally, the magazine did edit it out. Maybe just in case Ashutosh didn't like it. He didn't say anything. Yeah, then again, personal work, just sort of portraits, props. I don't have a studio anymore because of what personal reasons, whatever. But when I did have a studio, I had lots of props. So if I saw something lying in the passage outside my studio and I felt, wow, that's going to make a good prop, I just pick it up, and there was space, to put it. So I never knew when I was going to use it, but I knew it would come in handy sometime. Yeah, this is light painting. This girl came to me she was, I think, maybe the only student I've had, a solo student. I mean, normally I'm teaching at colleges or institutions, you know, but she came through one of my ex-assistants, who I think you know, Sakshi. Uh, so Sakshi called and said, "Hey, you know, this girl wants to learn photography, and will you take her on as a solo student?" So I said, "Yeah, well, let me meet her first." And when I met her, I said, I mean, you know, it's like when I'm shooting a person, like for myself, as in whether it's female, male, I want to meet that person. Somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, we'd love to do a portfolio." And it's good money, you know, but I say, listen, I don't get a sense of who you are through your portfolio pictures, because they sometimes all look very, very sort of, I don't know, set. It's like there's a stamp, you know, of a portfolio picture, you know. And I said, I normally ask to meet the people before I say yes. After the course was finished, you know, she said, "Can I take a picture of you?" You know, so I said, "Okay, let's do some light painting. You know, let's have some fun." And of course, she did some shots of me, and then I did the shot of her. Again, another ex-assistant of mine, also a very good photographer now, Isha. And when I showed her this picture, and you know, the other day, and I said, "Hey, Isha, do you mind if I use this for this presentation that I'm doing?" I wasn't even sure whether you would select it, you know, Nilofer, but I put it in there, and I was hoping you did. You would, and you did. And I asked her, and I said, "Listen, do you mind? I know this makes you look so much older than you actually are." And you know, she had a look at it, and you know, she said, "Oh my God, I mean, you know, it's almost like, is this what I'm going to look at? Like, you know, like 10 years from now or whatever." You know? So I said, "You know, see, if you don't want me to use it, I won't use it." She said, "No, no, go ahead, use it." So that's Isha. This was, again, you know, a lot of the work that I'm showing you today is personal work. You know, I'd always wanted to go to the Run of Kutch, and so I spent about 7 or 8 days over there with three of my crew. We drove there, and it was amazing. And this woman, you know, she's one of the salt workers, and she had this profile. I mean, you know, I do not want to get into the ring with this woman, okay, because she's going to knock me out with one punch. I mean, she's got that kind of strength, you know, in her face. And, you know, so that was, I call that one, that the title of that picture is Salt of the Earth. Run of Kutch has these salt pans. This was for the Taj magazine. We went to Jaipur with Sushma Reddy. She's the model, and you know, before the shoot came on. Now she's been photographed a lot. Okay, and for some reason she always, you know, sort of. I think you know, some people are sensitive about, you know, how they look in the finished image. So she came and whispered to me, "Hey, Nrupen, you know, I have these, you know, eyes. They're a little deep set, and you know, can you just kind of keep that in mind when you're shooting?" And that, of course, adds more pressure to me, because you know, I mean, the makeup guy was there. You know, we had carried, you know, this part of the team, and you know, that's always then at the back of your head. You know, you can't then ignore it. You know, okay, Sushma has told me this, and that kind of interferes with the flow, you know, sometimes. But anyway, she was happy with the shots. Justine, brilliant freestyle dancer from Pune. I mean, she came. I called a cold call through a friend. I'd heard of her, and I asked her to email some images. After, you know, I told her I want to take some pictures of her in the studio in Bombay, and she came down. She said, came down not specifically. She had some other work in Bombay. She said, okay, I might be in Bombay, most probably, you know, and then so we spent a day together in my studio. Um, Ria is a ballerina aspirant, and one of I was teaching at Raffles for about 5 years. Raffles Design. It's an international university based in Bombay, and I think they have a couple of other colleges in India too. But that was the first one, and I wanted to give them an idea of what a portrait session could be like. So this was part of a demo I did for the students. Run of Kutch again. I wanted to do some personal work, abstract work. So I did a series of shots with this frame. The frame is basically something I carried with me, and it's fixed on a stand in the grass over there. And then I removed the stand in post. And I did a series of these pictures. It's called the Freedom Series, and it's like she's the first. It's a set of 5 pictures, and the first one is where, you know, she's kind of stuck in the frame, and the second one is like she's looking around and, you know, she wants to escape, and then the body language changes. It's like she's getting ready to escape, and then, you know, the last one is she has escaped, and, you know, she's, you can see it in her in the body language. She's smiling, she's laughing, she's free, you know, finally. So yeah, metaphor. And of course, end with another portrait of mine with uh, these what I've got. I mean, who doesn't like superheroes, right? So I'm Batman. So everybody, I mean, Superman doesn't wear a mask, but I mean, Batman, Spider-Man, they all wear masks. So I, it's kind of spoofy picture on those superheroes. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
So, is there any advice besides experimenting and exploring that you would like to tell our participants?
Um, you know, when I began, I was lucky that I had a couple of people I could talk to, and nobody can really give you. We're all kind of different in our own ways. So what I think is in my experience work may not work for somebody else, but I think, as generally speaking, as a rule, I would say, I mean, don't get into photography, portraiture, whatever genre. I mean, if all that's at the back of your mind is it's a means to make money, right? Um, because you won't be able to last 30 years, okay? You may not even be able to last 10 years if money is the reason you're getting into it. If if the fires within you are being kindled by a personal desire to create, you last a long time. So I guess that would be the golden rule of the reason I say this is because a lot of people, you know, photography, there's this whole subculture, you know, the camera, I have a camera, I'm a photographer, I can make money, you know. It's not as simple as that, you know. And unless and until you can weather the stormy, empty days when there are no calls, what's going to keep you going, you know, during that time are those fires.